found this interesting article today called ChatGPT may be coming for our jobs. Here are the top 10 roles that AI is most likely to replace. I noticed that there's a lot of fear for ChatGPT and what it's capable of doing, especially AI. I think AI is what we should fear, not ChatGPT specifically, but let's get into it. Okay. So it says tech jobs, coders, programmers, software engineers, and data analysts. I definitely do not see ChatGPT and similar AI tools taking jobs like this. Well, it's maybe beginner level jobs will be altered in the future. That's how I see it. I do not believe that it's going to take people's jobs. Unless you really weren't prepared as a developer, then it will take your job. But ChatGPT in a couple of years might be able to make basic templates of sites. Already today it kind of struggles when you tell it to. So I'm not really scared about that. Let's see what else it has. Advanced technologies like ChatGPT could produce code faster than humans. Yes, it's faster, but definitely not more accurate. Um, Anybody who's been coding for over maybe 2 years will be able to code better than ChatGPT. There's a ton of issues. I've tried using it to build applications, and it's just filled with tons of errors. It can't even process CSS properly. So I'm definitely not scared about this one. What took a team of software developers might only take some of them, he added. I don't see ChatGPT as the one doing this. Maybe quantum computers, because those are the ones that will be able to do the process of a software engineer instantly. That's what we should be fearing, in my opinion. But ChatGPT itself is not something like that we should be scared of for coders and programmers. In terms of jobs, I think it's primarily an enhancer than full replacement. Yes, this is something I agree with. I totally believe that it's going to make us do our job much more efficiently in the future. Definitely not today, because ChatGPT is not that good at coding. But in the future, I definitely see it as a booster tool to make us more efficient and take less time to do this task we're not able to do today. Media jobs, advertising, content creation, technical writing, and journalism. The reason why I do not believe this one would also be gone is because when it comes to content creation, what makes everything so special is the uniqueness behind everything. And ChatGPT is great at that, but it still lacks in some points. The authentication of a human being's writing still has not been able to be duplicated with AI, especially for journalism too, because ChatGPT doesn't have an opinion on things, and most of journalism does have an opinion, whether it's good or bad. But maybe a field like advertising, that I've already seen applications be pretty good at those things already today. Now, legal industry jobs, paralegal, legal assistants. I'm going to go with the automatic no. Why? For the same obvious reasons. It could be used as a tool, but ChatGPT itself today makes too many errors for it to be used in the legal industry. I don't think we could adopt this within the next maybe 4 or 5 years. It would probably take around a decade for it to be used. AI can replace some of the work that paralegals and legal assistants do, though they aren't entirely replaceable, experts say, which is definitely true. There's definitely a buzz around ChatGPT, but the only thing it really replaces maybe simple data entry jobs. Those ones are might be the first ones to go. Let's see. That's because the number of jobs in legal services is relatively small and have already been exposed to AI automation before the advent of this new AI tool. Interesting. This data is actually quite structured and very language oriented, and therefore quite amenable to a generative AI, she added. I still don't see that. Market research analyst. This one's interesting as well. Honestly, the whole article is. I love it. I love tech. AI is good at analyzing data and predicting outcomes. No, no, it's not. The basic models we have for ChatGPT is not, but the billion and trillion dollar ones that they language models that they build for companies like Goldman Sachs or BlackRock, those ones, yes, I totally agree. But they're using things that can't even think of. Teachers. How would this replace this? Teachers across the country are worried about students using ChatGPT to cheat on their homework. Yes, this is true. This one is true. Writing authentic text these days, especially in high school or college, that's the biggest risk from ChatGPT, because these days people aren't even doing it on their own. They're using AI assistants and then rewriting tools to get through it, and that's an issue because we don't want to have a bunch of people who are literate and can't even uh, write. Although it has bugs and inaccuracies in terms of knowledge, this can be easily improved. That's true on the training model. Finance jobs, financial analysts, and personal financial advisors. Hmm. The language model to do something like this would have to be much more advanced than GPT 3.5 or GPT 4 because everything is so specific in its language model, right? So if we're just using the generic thing in ChatGPT, if we ask it to do something for us, it might not be able to do it because it has to be very specific to what the thing is needed. And unless you're an expert in that field and you know everything you're talking about, then it could help you. And what I really mean by this is that ChatGPT is more like a query box. You have to tell it specifically what you want it to do to get the most specific answer. But if you're just saying a general thing like make me a personal budget, it could do that for you. But it might not be the specific budget that you need if you don't tell it specifically what you're looking for. And in certain fields, it's something that's very important. Like if you're coding and you're looking for something very specific for your buttons or your backend or your database, and not be able to give you exactly what you need unless you are very specific on what it is. And that's something that I truly believe that the only person who would know something like this is a programmer. So that's why I see why they wouldn't be losing their jobs. But even for research analysts and financial analysts, it would take a language model such as JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, or BlackRock to do something like this. Traders. This is something I wanted to get into. As I said, there's a language model called Aladdin that BlackRock uses. And that one is even better than traders because it's able to analyze millions and millions of things at the same time and executions in trade. So it basically essentially never loses, which is very interesting. It's going to automate select tasks that knowledge workers are engaged in today so that they can focus on higher value tasks. What I find interesting about traders is that with a large language model being able to calculate risks, it begs the question, where will they go? Because at the moment, they are needed because of their expertise, but if large language models are adopted and proven that we don't need them, there would be a reduction in them. Why I believe that they'll still be needed is simple. To execute in the language model than to tell it what it needs to know, you would need a skilled trader. And to become a skilled trader, you'd have to train on your own. So I don't see them disappearing, but their job changing. Graphic designers. Yeah. I mean, this one could go, though, to be honest, but not as quick as everybody makes it seem. Because there's also you know, the human effect to things looking nice, but there could be a disruption in this field because, like I said, with the ads, sorry, the advertisement is that I've already seen an AI advertisement and it looks pretty nice. An accountant's, no, it could give you some sort of accounting advice, but even accounting is a stable profession because there's laws behind it. Only CPAs can do certain things. There's certain things that you can't do without an accountant. It would be illegal. So I don't think technology could replace this. But this is a very nice article. Customer service agents. Yeah, this could be filled with chatbots. Definitely. And it already is. Look, it's going to be 25% of companies are going to be using it by 2027. And that's going to reduce the amount of people as customer service agents. And that's just how it's going to be, honestly. Overall, I think this was a nice article, but however, at the same time, there's certain things I didn't agree with, and they were kind of like clickbait. But I do see why they were on here because if something like a larger language model was adopted for every single company, it would change the way that we hire people or how our job tasks are. Today, I see ChatGPT as something as a tool to help us be more efficient in our jobs, but I don't see it as a job replacement yet.